time. One time.
Standard.
Baby. One time. Sports, baby. Lego. Passing the prime.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Ashley Empowers. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Carrington.
And you're tuned in to another episode of
Game time.
So Carrington and I are back with another episode of 802 Game Time, where we answer the questions that you all send in about relationships, your walk with God, or anything in general. And today, am I going to read the question?
Yeah, you can read it today.
Okay. So the question says, my husband and I are Christians and have been married for 15 years. Things are good now in our marriage, but it hasn't always been that way. A few years ago, I discovered that my husband has been having inappropriate relationships, sexual conversations / flirting with women online and women he works with. He had been doing this for years throughout our marriage. I was devastated when I found out, and we fought about whether or not it was normal for months. Finally, I told him that we either fully commit to fixing our marriage and he stopped having those kinds of relationships, or we done. He recommitted and things have been significantly better. Fast forward to present. He has a guy friend at work that he met about a year ago and has become very close to. I hadn't thought much of the friendship, but recently my husband told me that this friend, who is also married, spends all day at the office. They sit right next to each other, flirting and having explicit conversations with girls at the office through text or Slack and other women online. My husband says he's been doing that since he's known him. At first, I thought that maybe my husband was trying to get him back on the right track because he is destroying his marriage. And we had been down that road of betrayal before. Unfortunately, it isn't like that at all. My husband seems amused by his behavior and jokes that his friend should get in trouble with HR, but he probably never will get in trouble because he's so successful. Am I wrong for wondering why my husband hasn't tried to pull away from this guy? My other question is it okay for me to ask my husband not to hang out with this guy at social functions? My concern is that his company has a trip coming up to Las Vegas, and this guy is notorious for drinking too much and behaving inappropriately with women at these events. I just feel very uncomfortable with my husband being with him. And this friend is already planning all the things he wants to do with my husband while they're there. I don't want to be a controlling wife and tell my husband who he can and can't be friends with. I really don't want to be that person. I just want to safeguard my marriage, but I don't know what to do.
So listen, first things first. Well, let's start with the back. So you telling your husband who you don't want him to hang with is not you being a controlling wife, as you being an accountable wife, right? It's your job, role, and responsibility as a wife to see things that husbands don't see. And if you recognize that this individual, this man that he's been hanging out with, is not conducive of the progression, and as you said before, the changes that he's so-called made in you guys' relationship, then you should want him to hang out with him. And truthfully, he should feel some type of way hanging out with him as well. Now, this is my biggest issue with all of this, because you said that this friend of his does basically what you called him doing and got on his head about. My issue with this whole situation is this: if you'll condone it or support it, then you probably will do it, right? And I know you said y'all had the conversation and y'all talked about being fully committed, and he talked about how changed this and the other. But if you're willing to support and be okay and laugh at another man doing what you realized was disrespectful to your wife and hurt her feelings and bothered her, then it's very likely that you could easily still be doing it. So not only do you need to let him know, hey, I have an issue with you guys being friends because I feel like he's a bad influence, and letting him know the reasons why, because that's being accountable. But two, you also need to check him and make sure that he's not engaging in that. And something to jump at me, you also need to make sure that the reason why he told you about this guy doing this stuff, because I don't understand that, is not because he's trying to make it seem like doing that is normal. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm doing something wrong and there's somebody else in the same position as me doing it wrong, I could easily say, hey, well, they doing it too, to try to make it more okay to my wife. And I don't know if that's what he's doing, but that could definitely be an option. So be careful of that.
Listen.
Listen.
His company trip in Vegas, sis, get you a flight. Mm-hmm.
I'll make him get you a flight.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully y'all got it. Yeah. No, listen, go to Vegas. Say, yeah, I think, you're going on a business trip. Maybe I can come for a couple nights and we can go out to dinner, or maybe he'll have some flexibility and free time during his work hours. Who knows? But see if you can go. But if not, all is well. But let me say this. Your husband still has some maturing to do.
Definitely. And
you guys have been together 15 years. And this is a prime example of someone still having some maturing to do. So number one, like Carrington said, this is an issue. Bad company corrupts good character. And your husband really needs to know that he may be thinking it's all fun and games and amusement, but people are highly, highly, highly influential. Okay? So have a conversation. You're saying you don't know what to do. Have a honest conversation, just like you poured out in this email. Babe, I know you're friends with this guy, but listen, you saw the effect that your actions had on me, and I don't think it's funny that you think it's funny.
Definitely.
So I would have a real honest and transparent conversation with him and communicate. Y'all have been married for 15 years and you know him better than anybody.
True.
So number one, communicate with him. Number two, get you a ticket to Vegas. And number three, read the book, The Power of a Praying Wife. Because what you want to do is, if you're not getting through to him, the Holy Spirit can. So just be praying for him, covering him, and just asking God to give him wisdom and discernment so he's not corrupting his character by hanging out with these negative influences. So thank you so much for tuning into this question. If anyone else has questions for Carrington and I, email us
at info@802gametime.com.
Or make sure you're following us on social media. I'm at Ashley Empowers.
And I'm at D. Carrington Brown. And listen, sis, one thing I've noticed with working with all the couples that I work with is that oftentimes for men, it's a lot easier for them to receive some direction and information if it's coming from another man. A lot of times when our wives try to give us this direction and this wisdom, we reach a point of just being like, I'm tired of hearing this from you nagging. And sometimes it takes to hear from another man to let them know, hey, it's not nagging. It's your wife really loving you, expressing her love, and desiring for you guys to make the best decisions for the relationship. And so what I want to advise you is this. In the description box below, there is a link to take advantage of a free 15-minute consultation. I would love to do a session with you and your husband, not only so I can affirm what you've been telling him, but then also give him some tips and tools to mature as a man in order to become the man or the husband that you deserve him to be, but then also that he deserves to be for himself.
Absolutely. Thank you again for sending in this question. And if you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you next Thursday.
Peace out, y'all.